It did change me. I don't really date anymore because I don't trust the true intentions of people anymore. I became very jaded to dating after all of that. People who have signed NDAs that have now expired or for whatever reason are no longer valid. What couldn't you tell us but now can? I was actually an actor in that commercial that said I wasn't. They aren't paid actors 'cause we're not paying them. I always hate that statement. These are real people, not actors. Every actor I know is a real person. I was a translator/contractor for the US military. I also translated Marvel comic books. Marvel had tighter security. This does not surprise me. I've worked in aerospace on military contracts most of my professional career. The most restrictive NDA I've had to sign was for a candy bagging machine for a candy company. Sony got hacked over that North Korea movie, because of a 5-year-old account they didn't delete or monitor from an ex-employee. My company forgot to remove my credentials to their investors' website when I left. Only like 5 people in the company had access to the site because it had people names, addresses, SSNs, credit scores, etc. Over 400,000 people. Like 3 years later I was working for a competitor that had the same client. I accidentally logged in with my old company's credentials and they worked. Someone really dropped the ball there. Had to sign a NDA for a secure shipment that came into a building I ran security at. Shipment came in at 2 a.m. unmarked transit van. 2 guys had to verify the biometrics and give me the correct password, then was required to deactivate the cameras on the floors along the travel routes they took inside the building. And wipe the footage of them entering and leaving. Long play videotapes so easy to oops tape got chewed. They unpacked a set of vases, and trundled off to put them in a private vault. Don't know what was in them, but I've seen less security for pallets of precious metal bullion. 15 years in the industry and this is one story that I'll always remember. Mini Cooper BMW replaced our car because the high-pressure fuel pump failed 6 times within 6 months. However, the recorded reason for the replacement of the car was because of stained interior from dirty mechanic hands, so it wasn't replaced via the Lemon Law. A new car built by my company leaves somewhere traveling at 60 miles per hour. The rear differential locks up. The car crashes and burns with everyone trapped inside. Now, should we initiate a recall? Take the number of vehicles in the field, A, multiply by the probable rate of failure, B, multiply by the average out-of-court settlement, C. A times B times C equals X. If X is less than the cost of a recall, we don't do one. In 1990, I signed an NDA at Chili's when they showed me how to make the new Awesome Blossom. No other restaurant in town had anything like it and it was hugely popular at the time. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese are coming out with a more modern and upscale version to expand their market from lower-income folks to higher-income folks. It is almost entirely the same product as the 69 blue box, but will have a lighter, less orangey color. They will be sold as shells, and not macaroni. The box will be shaped differently, and it will go for $2.50 or more. Stated to be released by 1995. Dell closed all of their in-person kiosk locations in order to get the money to fire the CEO they put in, because no one bothered vetting his contract. This allowed him to adjust his own pay rate to whatever he wanted, and could only be fired with a $40 million golden parachute bonus. So the choice was to either come up with $40 million ASAP to fire him, or go completely bankrupt the very next pay period. So yeah, Dell was almost bankrupted within a single week due to a pirate CEO. That has to be an urban legend. There are laws specifically designed to protect against people sneaking wacky clauses into contracts. I work with contracts and I work with C-suite executives. This almost definitely was not an overt clause. Some of these contracts can be written with if-then type finance formulas embedded in them that would defy PhDs in accounting and finance. I can imagine this if he had a section permitting him to make certain decisions based on such a formula that no one vetted, which permitted his incentive package to balloon, or accelerate according to a particular formula and based on a certain set of triggers. especially if the in-house legal group were relying on external corporate counsel to vet the contract, and external corporate counsel thought the in-house legal team had vetted this formula or set of triggers. That said, the vast majority of executive employment contracts are on the up and up. They're not legible to an uninformed reader, especially the pay packages, but they are not inherently nefarious. I worked for a native casino. The golf courses lost a ton of money for us, as did the advertising for the courses. Food we generally broke even on because of all the compensations. If a crime was committed by a dealer, they would watch the dealer for 3 months to see if there were accomplices. They used facial recognition and would pair match you, so if the same person sat with the same dealer over and over, they would know. This way they could look for accomplices. Then when they busted you, they would sit you down and make you watch a video of you breaking the law. They did this because they wanted you to plead guilty as opposed to an expensive trial. I signed an NDA to waitress at a local family-owned restaurant. The owner was nuts, definitely had a severe personality disorder, and was worried about his recipes getting leaked. The restaurant is dead now, and his secret recipes consisted almost solely of frozen packaged food. Edit, guys. Stop trying to guess what restaurant it is. You never will. There are millions of family-owned places with crazy bosses that go under. You don't know the place, and I'm not gonna tell you. Also, Mr. Krabs pays his employees enough to own houses and pets. I wish I worked for him. Google doesn't hire direct support employees, they open small projects in the US, hire up to 250 contract employees of varying support positions for the project. Once they get the stats needed to run everything efficiently, they have mass layoffs, and outsource their jobs to a country, Philippines, India, that's willing to accept much less than their US counterpart. At the same time, Google rakes in a huge tax cut because they're creating jobs in the local communities. My ex used to work for Google Fiber, which I think is Google Wi-Fi or something. I'm not sure because it's unavailable in our region. He worked there for about a year, and towards the end the layoffs began. They were all contracted employees who were outsourced from some outside company and were only signed on to Google if they were great. My ex was there 40+ hours every week, made great reviews, and didn't get his contract renewed. He convinced them to sign him into the outsource company again. After that, things started going downhill, the layoffs began, and he would tell me about how so-and-so got fired today because their performance reviews weren't good enough. When we broke up, he still worked there, but since then he quit and now works at a Staples, so good for him, I guess. It seemed like it was some great Google job that would get him places, but in the end, it was basically an overhyped call center in which they would replace the people they had with people from other countries. Apple 100% replaced the iPhone 4 for users because of a bad antenna. We were instructed to dodge, deflect, and deny this was the issue. Cell phone providers were bad, the phone was a fluke, it didn't matter. Don't admit fault. But if they were there for reception versus water damage, buttons, or battery life, you had to make sure you were swapping them with the newer batch iPhone 4 swaps rather than the typical batch swaps. It was a recall without being a recall. But only if you had reception issues. Worked at a matchmaking company. It's all nonsense, it's just throwing darts at a wall until something sticks. There's no science or magic to it at all. Edit, I didn't work for an internet matching company, so they may have a different process. What we did was get a paid client and set him up on dates. The dates we found were from a pool of women, and we would just keep picking one after another. I quit because I felt like the women were just being used, and I became uncomfortable profiting off of people's hopes. They very much play up on finding you true love, and it's a process, blah blah. They'll very much play up the fairy tale romance. It did change me. I don't really date anymore because I don't trust the true intentions of people anymore. I became very jaded to dating after all of that. You could get free satellite TV without any hacking or hardware mods. Call up your Dish or DirecTV phone line, add everything you want to get. Wait until it all appears on your account and you can watch it. Then, unplug all the hardware in your system and give them a call back, saying it wasn't you or you changed your mind, or you only had it for visiting family or whatever. Take it back down to the bare minimum or turn it off completely. Wait at least 24 hours, preferably a good 2 or 3 days. Then, plug your hardware back in and continue to enjoy everything. This has been known to work for years for a lot of people. Satellite TV is one-way communication, so the only way they update your programming authorization is to send a signal to your specific hardware. Sending satellite signals for single customers is expensive, so they don't keep doing it. When your system gets the update to turn on all the channels, it sticks until you make a change. All you have to do is skip that downgrade signal.
Like and subscribe for more funny, interesting, and scary r/ask Reddit videos.